I'm your host, Sean McKenzie. Thank you for joining once again on my channel on data engineering. In this episode, we go back to our Python on Snowflake playlist, and we're going to take a look at alter table in Snowflake. And altering a table is something that everybody needs to do after you've been working with data for a certain amount of time. You're going to need to be able to change your tables without recreating them, and alter table is definitely the tool for that. Let's get to it. Interested in more cool topics like these? Make sure to check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. Okay guys, another one for those of you automating your DDL with Python. We're going to do some Python alter statements today, alter statements against Snowflake. So I've got my idle shell open here. You can open your tool of choice and we'll get going here. So I'm going to add this import Snowflake connector as SC. That's our snowflake.connector. If you haven't got that installed yet, make sure you go back and check out the video in the card above here, and that'll help you to get started with the connector. And make sure that you install the connector with the square brackets pandas are at the end of it so that you get the pandas functionality if that's what you want to have. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a try block, and we'll do an exception and finally as well. But we're going to set up that connection. I just pasted in my connection from previous episodes there. My username, password, and account are not showing because they are in variables. The Snow user, Snow pass, and Snow account are variables in my connection that you can see right there, but you can just type yours in or store yours as you wish. And we're just going to create that cursor as our first exercise there, and we'll say that we are connected. And then we'll do our exception block very quickly here. We're just going to print off that exception if we get one. And then we'll do a finally block here where we're essentially just going to make sure that the database connection gets closed. Note that you can also use with, as it can also handle your connection and other objects. So here we go, we've got our finally block, and we're just going to give some feedback saying that we are disconnecting, and then we'll say if there's a connection, we're going to close that, and we'll print closed, just so that we have some feedback in the console, and then we can print done and we can get started here. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be doing some alter statements, and alter statements are really handy after you have some data in your data tables and you need to add some new columns or drop some columns, or you need to change data types or drop defaults or those kinds of things. You can do those using the alter statement. Now, all of the SQL that I'm showing here, you can also run inside of your Snow site browser sort of IDE that Snowflake provides. It's the exact same SQL, and what we're going to do is we're going to be showing some of this today. First of all, let's go ahead and get some output for the table that we're going to modify. And to do that, we're just going to do a select star on our project table, which only has a few records in it, so we don't have to worry about that too much, the size of it. Please do not do a select star if you have a table with 10 billion records. Do a select top 10 or use a limit at the end of your SQL statement there. But this is our table. You can see it here. This is the ID and then the name of the project, and then a description. And I've also got this in the browser sort of IDE worksheets that you can use with Snowflake. So there we go. That's my Snow site there, and I have done a select star from project just like we are doing in our code, and I'll do a control enter on that, and there we go. That'll give us the same thing that we saw in our output, just so you guys have a point of reference for those of you who are not working in Python, and we can go ahead and take a look at that. So the next thing that we want to do is we can go ahead and we can start looking at using the alter statement. Let's just cut this little block of code that we use to display our data. We'll put that back in a moment. So that is sitting in the clipboard there. And let's go ahead and write our alter statement. So what we'd like to do is let's add a couple of columns to our project table. And so we can do that using alter table project add, and we'll add a due date and let's say a max budget or something like that. So let's do add due date, and you can put your data type just after the name, and you can do multiple additions in the same statement. So we'll do that here. So we'll do add due date, date time, max budget. We'll make that numeric, and that's going to give us two nice new columns that we can sort of use for our data collection. And then we'll use our cursor for that, just like we have used in previous episodes. We'll use our cursor here, and we'll just go ahead and execute that. And then in order to show what we did, we'll paste back in the code that we just cut so that we'll get some output to show the recent changes to our table. Now note that you do not have to use a commit after you do some DDL. You don't need to use a commit. It'll automatically be completed or executed on the table, and so you're good to go there. So it looks like I already broke it. I did not complete my double quotes there. Hit F5 on that to go. Let's save that again and hit F5 again, and hopefully I didn't break it again. Here we go. So there we go. So it's starting. There it goes. We've got our new fields, and they show that they have no data in them, which is correct. And if I pull up our Snow site, just so you guys have a point of reference, I'll rerun this select statement in here, and now of course we can see our new columns there. We've got our ID, project name, project description, and then our due date and max budget, which are the new columns that we just added. Now I'm going to add a column after with a default to show you the behavior of that, so make sure you keep watching for that, and we can continue on here. Okay, so we added some columns, but what if we wanted to drop some columns from a table or tables that we have, and maybe we want to do that in a script? If you want to add a whole bunch of SQL or DDL statements in a big script and run it, make sure to check the card. I've done an episode on how to run those from a file, so you can just make a big SQL file and run all of those all in one shot. I can show you how to do that, so make sure you check out that video. And but to do our alter table here, we're just going to do drop column due date. So we're going to drop that column, and let's see what we get here. So there we go. So we dropped our column, and then we did a select star on that, and now we only have one of our new columns there, and that is exactly what we want to see. That remaining column is the max budget column, and you can see it there. If I rerun that select star in our worksheet in the browser, you can see the results there, and that's exactly what we want to see. And that is our alter table drop column statement. And so you might be wondering, well, what if I wanted to change the data type on a column? So we can also do that. You can also drop defaults and things like that. Although you have to be careful, there are some rules, like if you added a default after the table was already created, you can't drop that default and things like that. So you kind of have to do a bit of trial and error. But for here, what we could do is we can do an add statement for a new column, and we can put that default on, and we can sort of show the behavior of that. So I'm going to add a new column called project policy, which is 50 characters and has a default of NA. And if I hit F5 on that, we'll get some additions. So you can see the behavior that the new column is going to take the default values for the default when you add it to the table. So unlike some other systems where you can add a default but it'll leave nulls in the table for previously created records, we'll get our default applied here. And so that's how you can add a new record with a default. But now that we have that record, maybe 50 characters wasn't big enough for us. Maybe we need 100 characters. So we could do something like alter project policy, and we could set the size of that or the data type of that to a varchar with 100 characters, and that makes up our alter statement with set data type. So we can set a data type or change a data type. Now there are rules around that. Obviously you can't change some data types to others, but in general, if you're getting bigger, it's okay. If you're getting smaller, you're going to truncate data, obviously. Okay, so we hit F5 on that, and that looks good. So now we've got our NA in there. We've got a bigger data type on our max budget column, and that's exactly what we want to see there. If I rerun it in Snowsight, obviously you can't see it here, but there is our new project policy column, and it's got our default values in it. That is exactly what we want to see, and that is how you can use the alter table to add and remove columns or change data types in your Snowflake database. Need a time collection system for your team out in the field? Make sure to check out my build on system. The link is in the description.